So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're gonna take a quick look at yet another Tenet weapon, and this time around it is going to be the almighty Flux rifle. Now, just like any other Tenet weapon, the only way to get it is by defeating a sister of Parvos that's wielding the Tenet Flux rifle, and I already made a full video on how to deal with the sisters of Parvos and how to engage with that system, so I'm simply gonna link it in the description below. The Tenet Flux rifle is a mastery rank 16 primary beam weapon that does primarily slash damage and a little bit of puncture on the side. Plus, you of course get a bonus element or elemental combo based on the progenitor Warframe. And other than that, the weapon comes with a solid enough 20% crit chance, a slightly below average 1.8 times crit multiplier, very high fire rate of 15, a massive 120 round magazine with a 1.8 second reload and 26% status chance. So when we compare it to the standard Flux rifle, we see that while the base damage is the same, the actual damage on the Tenet variant is of course higher because of the bonus element or combo. We have higher accuracy, which doesn't really matter. We have twice as much crit, slightly less crit multiplier. We have more fire rate, bigger magazine. It unfortunately did lose the 0.5 meters of punch through, and it has a longer reload, but it also has higher status. Also, one thing to notice here is that the trigger went from held to automatic, and you can actually feel that. It feels more like a fully automatic rifle than a beam weapon, but it still works with the Flux rifle specific Flux Overdrive augment, which gives you fluctuating status chance, a ton of it, as well as you fire the beam. And it can also use combustion beam, but it really does feel more like an automatic rifle. Oh yeah, and one thing people tend to overlook with this is that it has infinite range, so as long as you can hit the enemy, it's gonna do full damage. And finally, since this is a Tenet weapon, it gains more capacity and you extract more mastery from it as you put on more and more Forma, up to a maximum of 5. So if you want to squeeze the absolute maximum out of this in terms of capacity, get all the mastery from it, and unlock the ability to install a lens, you're gonna have to put on 5 Forma. However, you can easily do a full build with just 2 Forma, which are going to be 2 Vs. And the best way to build the Tenet Flux rifle, in my opinion, is to simply go for as much high-end single target damage as possible. So we're gonna go with Serration for more damage, Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, and if you don't have it, Split Chamber is just fine, Point Strike for crit chance, Vital Sense for crit damage, then Vigilante Supplies for the ammo mutation because it chews through ammo pretty fast, but it also gives you a chance to enhance a crit. We're gonna follow it up with Argent Scope for even more crit on a headshot. Then we have Flux Overdrive for a ludicrous amount of status for very little capacity, though you could try the new Galvanized status mod, that one could be cool, or even Hammer Shot for more crit multiplier and status, and we're gonna top it all off with Rhyme Rounds and Malignant Force for Viral and status. Also, if you have any of the arcanes, definitely put them on. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that usually in the simulacrum in these videos, I test against level 100 enemies, but this time around we have level 170 enemies, which is as high as my simulacrum will let me go, and that's just because level 100 enemies simply die way too fast. And that is without a companion that would be boosting my crit even further with the Vigilante mods, which is something I would highly recommend for this, or, you know, for any weapon. The amount of single target DPS this weapon can pump out is utterly, and I do mean utterly and completely, ridiculous. And that's with me being pretty unlucky when rolling the weapon, because I managed to get 26% bonus heat, which is almost as low as it gets. The lowest you can get is 25. So what you just saw, you know, it melting level 170 enemies like they're nothing, that's pretty much the worst case scenario. Also, I don't have an arcane on it, so, you know, that's another load of extra damage you get out on top. This weapon is nuts when it comes to single target, just sustained DPS. So if single target DPS is what you're looking for, because maybe you have a good AoE setup with your secondary and melee, this is definitely the weapon for you. The only downside here are status resistant enemies, because they counter this weapon pretty hard, since status is what most of your damage comes from. But it's not where all your damage comes from. The weapon still does a decent amount of damage up front, so if you're doing stuff on the star chart, you're doing nightmare missions, fissure missions, maybe early sorties, most of the enemies will die from the upfront damage, so you don't have to wait for slash to tick. So I am of course going to recommend this weapon to anyone that's looking for something that has chunky single target damage, because trust me, this weapon has plenty of it. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.